Hello, my name is Roos Buitenhuis. I'm a senior research scientist in biological control at Vineland Research and Innovation Center. This video is an adaptation of several presentations about quality assessment of biocontrol agents. The making of this video was supported by funding from the Canadian Greenhouse Conference, and the project partners are the Vineland Research and Innovation Center, OMAFRA, Greenhouse Canada Magazine, and Flowers Canada Growers. Sometimes it's easy to judge the quality of a product. Anyone would choose the vehicles on the left over the ones on the right. But how do you judge things that are much smaller, like the shipment of biocontrol agents? We've all been there. You're doing biocontrol, feeling good, and then one of the pests you thought you were controlling is getting out of hand. Often, the first reaction of people to this scenario is to question the quality of the biocontrol agents. You're probably viewing this presentation to learn how to assess the quality of your biocontrol agents, but before we get to that, I advise you to consider several alternative explanations first. After you've eliminated these other causes of biocontrol failure, you can go and assess the quality of your bios and have a solid case to complain to your supplier. The first thing to check is, are your expectations too high? A successful biocontrol program will rely on regularly scheduled releases of beneficials throughout the growing season of the crop, and only when pest populations are moderate to low. After releasing beneficials, it may take several weeks to see noticeable reductions in pest levels. This graph shows the theoretical increase of a thrips population when you do nothing to control them. Within 40 days, the population has gone from very few to over 6,000. It is very clear that a preventative approach is needed. If you wait until pest populations are already high, towards the right-hand side of the curve, the bios you release will be eating as much as they can, but their numbers will increase too slowly to have an impact. One way to deal with this is to spray a compatible pesticide with a short residual, or to do cutting dips, to bring pest populations back down and give the biocontrol agents a chance. Also, bios can't perform miracles. Looking at this picture, do you think applying more bios will help at this stage? Obviously, it is time to throw out these plants. Starting or continuing a bio program now will do nothing. However, if you have been doing the right thing all along, don't ditch the program too quickly. Remember that biocontrol needs some time to start showing results. And this is why monitoring is so important. Monitor the pest, but also the bios. Are there any signs that the bios are doing something? Are pest populations going down? Are the numbers of biocontrol agents increasing? If your pest populations are high, but you see a lot of bios, maybe you should give it another week before you decide to spray. And this picture is a good example. If you look closely, you can find 5 different biocontrol agents. The second thing to check before blaming the quality of the bios is if there's any interference from pesticides. Think of pesticide residues on the greenhouse structure or on incoming plant materials such as seedlings or cuttings. Although it's not uncommon to combine biocontrol and pesticides in an IPM program, the success of the program depends on the products, both the chemical and the biological products that are used. If you want to combine biocontrol and pesticides, consider the following. Choose the product with the lowest impact and the shortest residual. Most biocontrol suppliers have a side effects database on their website, such as the one I show here. You want to choose the products with the lowest number, for example the green one, and the shortest persistence, as indicated here in this line here. The effect of the pesticide may depend on application method and biocontrol agent. For example, look at the difference between drench and spray for imidacloprid, and what is safe for Aphidius and Californicus is not safe for Aureus. Note also that compatible does not mean completely safe. Sublethal effects may occur, and this is where the biocontrol agent does not die, but doesn't feel well enough to do much. However, not compatible does not mean that you can never use it. If the product has a short residual, you can reintroduce BIOS after spraying, or use this product as a spot spray or cleanup. And finally, you should also check the compatibility of fungicides. They also may affect your biocontrol agents. A third reason your biocontrol program may not be working is if you have misidentified the pest and are actually releasing the wrong biocontrol agent. Here's an example of a plant symptom that may be misidentified. What pest caused this? There are several pests that can cause leaf curling and stunting, like thrips and aphids, but in this case, it is the mostly invisible broad mite. This is another example. When you see pink aphids, most people think, the pink morph of green peach aphid, and release Aphidius colomani or matricariae. And you would be right in the picture on the right. However, there are other aphid species that can have pink morphs, like potato aphids in the picture on the left, that are not controlled by colomani or matricariae. Instead, you would need to use Aphidius urvi. Finally, the BIOS may arrive in good condition, but if you don't treat and release them right, you will not get the level of biocontrol that you expect. Learn when, how, and where to release the biocontrol agents and how to set them up for success. It is highly preferable to release biocontrol agents the same day as you receive them. These are living organisms that are very sensitive to temperature and humidity. Yes, there is a use-by date on the package, and it is possible to store certain biocontrol agents for a short period if you absolutely have to. But make sure to check the storage conditions on the label or the supplier website. Again, it is best to avoid the risk of compromising the product and to release the biocontrol agents immediately. Some biocontrol agents do not perform well certain times of the year or under certain environmental conditions. For example, Aphiolides and aureus are sensitive to day length and temperature. Other biocontrol agents don't do well under low humidity. Another factor that affects the biocontrol agents is how you release them. Here's an example where you probably want to give every pot their own mini sachet of predatory mites. Any broadcast loose material that falls in between the pots is wasted, and the mites are not able to walk from pot to pot over the floor when the foliage of the plants is not touching. For more information, you can watch the video Effective Release Methods for Predators and Parasitoids in the Greenhouse Crops. Biocontrol is best used as a preventative measure. This often means that at the time of release, there are few prey in the crop. You can set the BIOS up for success by providing alternative food and oviposition sites, for example by using banker plants and/or supplemental food such as pollen. So once you have eliminated numbers 1 to 4 from your list, you have reason to suspect that there may be something wrong with the shipment of BIOS. You should check their quality and potentially complain to your supplier. Like I said before, biocontrol agents are living organisms, and if they are not in good shape, it will affect their performance. Your biocontrol supplier is committed to shipping healthy products. And to this end, they do many and frequent quality control tests on all their mass variants and products. However, anything that happens between the time when the product leaves their facility and the time it arrives at your place, like defective packaging, transport conditions, and storage, can affect the quality of the BIOS. So how can you test the BIOS? The International Organization for Biocontrol, IOBC, developed QC protocols for 30 biocontrol species. They're published in this book and are freely available on this website. However, these protocols were last updated in 2003. In the meantime, biocontrol companies have further optimized these tests, but many of those are proprietary. There is an IOBC committee that is looking to update and develop more guidelines for third parties like labs and researchers. But these protocols are often quite elaborate and too time-consuming to be practical for growers. That's why in 2014 we collected and compiled simple protocols into the Grower Guide to Quality Assurance of Biocontrol Products. This guide is available on the Vineland website. In 2017, the guide was updated with a method for mite sachets, and we will continue updating it based on your feedback. So here's how it works. When you receive your box of biocontrol agents, you will want to open it and note if the contents are still cool. There should not be a strong smell of fermentation. Then check the individual products. At minimum, look for movement or insects flying out when you open the cap. This is a sign that the bios are still alive. If you are going to do some of the quality control tests in the Grower Guide, make sure to mix the contents in the package well, take random samples, and to replicate, which means to take several samples. Keep in mind that many products tend to be overpacked, so don't be surprised if you find more than what is stated on the label. Also, overpacking is a way to compensate for mortality that may occur in shipping, so it's okay to find a small number of dead individuals. Also, these grower quality control tests will only give you rough estimates, an indication something is wrong. It is not scientific evidence. For that, you need much more elaborate and time-consuming tests, which are beyond the scope of the guide. Keep good records of the batch number, the date received, the date tested, the method you used, and the number of samples, so you can correlate the results to your scouting records and the performance of your biocontrol program. And finally, if you find a potential problem, contact your supplier and adjust your release rates or frequency to compensate for the suboptimal product. Here are some more resources on quality control of biocontrol agents. We made several videos demonstrating some of the techniques in the Grower Guide. For example, how to unbox and release bios, the quality control of predatory mite sachets, and how to assess entomopathogenic nematodes. And we are planning to add several more videos for other biocontrol agents. You will also find a lot of useful information in the article series in Greenhouse Canada and the Grower Talks article series called Best Practices for Biocontrols. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at roos.buitenhuis@vinelandresearch.com.